Hey guys, this is the Watchman podcast coming from the Garden Studios with Crystal and Samuel. And today we are going to be looking at a series dealing with trauma and its effects on people. So if we look at the definition of what trauma is, psychological trauma is a type of damage to the mind that occurs as a result of a distressing event. Trauma is often a result of an overwhelming amount of stress that exceeds one's ability to cope or integrate the emotions involved with that experience. Trauma may result from a single distressing experience or recurring events of being overwhelmed that can be precipitated in weeks, years, or even decades as a person struggles to cope with the immediate circumstances, eventually leading to serious long-term negative consequences. Because trauma differs between individuals, according to their subjective experiences, people will react to their similar traumatic events differently. In other words, not all people who experience a potentially traumatic event will actually become psychologically traumatized. However, it is possible for some people to develop post-traumatic stress disorder after being exposed to a major traumatic event. The discrepancy in risk rate can be attributed to protective factors some individuals may have that enable them to cope with trauma. They are related to temperamental and environmental factors. Environmental factors from among others. Some examples are resilience, characteristics, and active seeking of help. So that's the definition of trauma. So, Crystal, what's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts?
Hello, everyone. So trauma, psychological trauma, is a big one because it's listed so many things right there. Just touching on what you read where it said about the time frame where you can be caught up once you've experienced a certain level of trauma. So it could be days, could be weeks, years, decades. Recover. It's such a dense one. I think everyone has experienced a level of trauma, and when we use the word trauma, relationships, abusive relationships, sexual abuse, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like when one goes through a level of trauma, just based on my opinion, there's certain unhealthy coping mechanisms that takes place if they don't really want to tap into the reality of what's taken place.
Yeah.
So they go through a process of desensitization and try to remove the raw emotions.
Yeah.
So in doing that, it's kind of like, okay, I don't want to deal with the fact that this has taken place. I'm going to try and not feel the raw emotions that has come from the circumstance.
Yeah.
And then you almost become in a bubble.
Yeah.
Some try to create their own reality and detach from the truth of what has taken place. But yeah, I just want to touch on, like, there's this new thing that, well, it's not new, but there's this thing where, if you detach from your emotions, you can ascend to your higher spiritual self.
Yeah.
And in my personal opinion, I feel like that is a level of illusion. An illusion because to remove your emotions means you're essentially becoming soulless. Emotions are there for us to filter out. It's just like sweating.
Yeah.
Like you sweat to take the toxins out of your system.
Yeah.
And emotions are there for us to filter through life.
Yeah.
So if you try to remove that, then initially you become a shell.
Yeah.
You're not feeling, you're not interacting with your environment and those around you. So you're becoming a robot. And then in that person's mind, that's caught in the matrix of, you know, okay, I can detach from these emotions, it appears real to them. It's not a matrix to them.
Yeah.
There sometimes becomes a state where they've been in this bubble for so long that they're unable to move forwards, and they get into a stage of regression rather than progression, because they're, again, not acknowledging the situation. So it's stagnation in the mind.
Yeah.
And then that's when we start to see unhealthy coping mechanisms. You become an easier target to be dehumanized to everything around you. So the truth becomes lies, and lies become the truth.
Yeah.
And then I feel like phrases like, it's life, focus on yourself, that's my truth, it becomes a lingo, and it signals a form of detachment.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, no, I agree, because there's so many different coping mechanisms that people use to try and get through life. And it's important to remember that if you don't deal with things, then it's just going to get worse. As you're talking about the toxins and sweating and stuff. If we don't sweat out the toxins, it's going to be full of toxins, and it's just going to cause us to be ill and to get sick, and to so many different type of illnesses, and like, I don't know, all the stuff that can happen through that. But I know that if you don't get rid of toxins in your body, it starts cancer and all different types of sicknesses like that. And stress, and no ways to de-stress and all of that. And in Romans 12 verse 2, it says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Other versions it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And the mind is very, very important, because everything starts in the mind. Really, everything outside us is an illusion, because all of our worries and all of the things we think about, and most of the issues that we actually have is mental issues that are just to do with your mind. So how people talk to you, how people treat you, relationship issues, it could be friends, it can be situations. Most situations are just to do with our mind. It's to do with our mind and how we think about it. And if we are transformed by renewing our minds, then most of our problems will be eliminated. And that's why we have an increasing amount of depression and mental health and stuff, because people bottle things up for too long, and they hold on to traumas, and they're wearing masks, and then when the masks become too much, then they realize that I can't keep this in anymore. I can't keep on living like this. I can't keep on doing this. And people commit suicide. People have other coping mechanisms. People like live crazy, promiscuous lives. People do so many different things just because they can't cope with their life now.
Lives. And when I was on the verge of suicide, I was attempting suicide. Wow. I didn't realise what damage I would have caused to my family, me dad, me brothers, me mother, my wife, my kids.
That never crossed your mind?
It never crossed my mind, because when you're in those dark places, you don't care about anything or anybody.
Right.
And until you get back out into the light, you realise what damage you would have caused. I'm always honest when it comes to mental health stuff, and I like to give my truth across. I didn't think I was ever going to get back right again. I thought I'd end up in a padded room somewhere. That's how bad it got.
Oh, my God.
There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't pray to God to kill me.
Wow.
Wow. And I suppose I've suffered my whole life with depression and anxiety, but I never knew what it was because I was uneducated on the matter, and I just thought it was a feeling that I had. And I know I'd get low from time to time, and then I always get over it because I always had an ambition of becoming heavyweight champion of the world, and nothing was ever going to take my focus off that goal until I achieved the goal, and then there was nothing to pull me out of the hole anymore. So I just kept going down further. And yeah, I did attempt suicide and I pulled out last minute. So I don't think you can go any lower than that. When a man doesn't want to breathe fresh air anymore and doesn't want to live for his family and his kids, and I was a man who had everything. I had money, fame, glory, achievements. I was young, I was healthy. There was nothing much more that I could wish for, but yet I was the most unhappy that I've ever been. What pulled me out of it? I think I draw the final straw after the attempted suicide. I was driving pretty quick, I won't say because I get banned from driving. I was in a high performance sports car and I was heading towards the bridge at about 190 miles an hour. And my plan was, I planned that I was going to hit it at the bottom of the road. I was going to hit this bridge. And people say just before you die, you see your life flash in front of you and all that. I didn't see any of that, to be fair. So, and the adrenaline was pumping. I could feel myself like, I didn't know, I was thinking, didn't know what was going on. I was 100% I was going to smash into this bridge, and I got maybe from here to the end of the wall away from the bridge, and I kid you not, I heard a voice speak to me. And it said, Tyson, don't do this. This is not for you. You're going to destroy your full family's lives. Don't do this. And when I think about it, I was very unwell at that time, and maybe I did hear the voice. Something spoke to me. But when I pulled the car over at the side of the road and I was there and I was shaking and there was tears coming down, my chest was wet. I didn't know where I was, and I called for help and I thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore alone, because I tried to hide it so much. Every time I tried to speak to somebody, I was like, oh, pull yourself together, you've got everything, why are you complaining?
So insensitive.
Do you know what I mean? So it was I couldn't speak to nobody about it because I had a role to play, I had a part to play. Do you know what I mean? So I was bottling up for so long until I exploded. So now when I speak to people who are suffering with mental health problems, the best advice that you can give to someone is go and get medical help immediately. And when I started going and seeing a doctor, I didn't think it was going to be for me. I thought, I'm going to go see this guy now, tell him what's the problem is, tell him what I'm feeling. He's going to go tell all his mates in the bar later and have a good laugh.
That's what keeps us away from getting help, though.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking in my mind. But when I went there and I spoke to the guy, and he was setting me up like, we'll meet for an hour twice a week or whatever it was. I was actually looking forward to going back. But I think the final straw for me was, I thought to myself, I looked in the mirror and I looked at 60 years old to me, in my mind. I was in terrible shape. I was well over 400 pounds. I couldn't bend down and tie my shoelaces up without being out of breath and feeling all sweaty. I was in such a state, I thought I was going to have a heart attack at one stage. I had a severe anxiety attack where I thought I was having a heart attack and a stroke, and I didn't know what was going on. I really didn't. I rushed myself I got my friend to take me to the hospital. I said, somebody must have drugged me or something's going on. I said, I want my blood testing right now immediately. I said, I think I've had a stroke or a heart attack or something. My heart rate was like booming. The doctor said, you got to calm down. We're going to sedate you if you don't.
Maybe your purpose is to help others that are going through that.
I've been brought back for a reason, because I was gone. When you say you're at the point of no return, that was me. I didn't ever think I hated boxing at that period. I hated it. I didn't want to look at boxing. I thought it was boxing that made me that way.